Okay, so what I'm going to do today is just work through an Etsy order. This is a design that I created and then made a listing and sold it on Etsy. And I actually have my phone right here because I want to keep the alarm on. I don't have the right video editing equipment, so 10 minutes at a time I'll have to stop and start and keep going. But anyway, so I made this design. I sold it on Etsy. I photocopied it before I shipped it. And then I used carbon paper to, anytime I get an order for it, to recreate it on a piece of handmade paper. So basically, I put the outline with the carbon paper, and then I have my plan. It's watercolor and ink pen. So the watercolor part for this one, I mean, the first time I made it, I wasn't quite sure. I just kind of go with it. Is very simple. It's just black and gray around the outside with some shades of yellow. So it's a really easy design for me because I'm used to it, obviously. So I'm going to put that back here. I don't really need that. And I'm going to do watercolor. I'm going to start with, because I'm going to do the outline around the outside first, I'm going to start with black watercolor from my plain old watercolor pan. Inexpensive watercolor pan, and we'll start with black. And I'm going to get this pretty wet and then let it dry before I do the ink pen part. So we're going to come around the edges with the watercolor, and again, like I said, pretty wet. This one's a little off center. It's okay. I matte them. Black mats before I ship them, so I center it before I ship it. And this one, the paper kind of, the paper has texture to it. It kind of got a little filled up, so I'm going to recreate that effect because that seems to be selling well. I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to kind of mess up the paper a little bit here. I want the edges to be too exact because they're not exact in the example. And extra water will definitely kind of mess up this paper, messing it up on purpose. Just going to come all the way around and keep going until I have my background design with black and gray. My moon is up here, so I've got to make sure I get my moon up in the sky there. That little circle spot is where my moon is going to be. And again, going around the circle. Like I said, this is a very easy one for me. And I think maybe that's why it's so popular, because it's just kind of a loose watercolor. Take a smaller brush. This is kind of a junky brush. And just keep peeling up this paper, kind of almost tearing it a little bit by applying a little bit of excess water. Definitely have to clean my brush after this one because it'll have little shreds of paper stuck in it. And I've made this design quite a few times now, so I know after it dries I may have to go back in and apply some black to the places where it dries too lightly. Watercolor always dries lighter, and we have to let it dry before we really see what we have. Larger brush back out. Fix this top here. Some more color. Oh, it's early in the morning. I need to speak up a little bit. Being a little too quiet. in some gray. And this is the thing about getting started with something. When I did the first one, I didn't necessarily mean to tear the paper. It was just as I was figuring out the design and adding more color, I got the paper too wet and it tore. And now it's a clean. I have some spots over here that aren't necessarily in the design, so I just want to take that back a little bit. Keep it a little bit neater. I'm going to come back in down here. And you can see this paper is just soaked. It's soaking wet, so it will have to dry. So, I mean, really, this is what I'm going for, and this is where I am. I am going to go ahead and start with the yellow now. Here. So for the yellow, I'm going to go down to a much smaller brush. Let's see. And really, it's just 2 shades of yellow. So this one's, again, I'm not getting, this is wet, it's not necessary. It's not necessary for this little dress that she's wearing. And there's watercolor, so sometimes goes a little out of the line. Not a big deal. This is a handmade, hand-painted drawing, so those things happen. And there's going to be some line work going over top of this, but that's fine. The ink pen will go right over top of this watercolor after it's dry. I'm just coming down here, this watercolor. Be nice and saturated because it is a beautiful color. Noticed in the example I showed you, when I printed it, the color's darker, but in the listing, it's not that dark. So I have a light yellow also in these circles. So I'm just going to come put in. Looking at this light here, making it hard to see. Maybe that's better. It's coming in a little darker than I want it, so I'm going to just thin it out, make it a little bit lighter. It's a very light yellow in the circles. And come over the circle, go down its pants leg, and circle back here. Still a little darker than I want it. I want them to look like different shades. So I'm just going to pop some of that color off of there, lighten it up. Come into this circle, water it down so it's not so dark. light yellow, dark yellow, and black. Let's see. Light yellow, dark yellow, and black. And as soon as it dries, I will come back and do the line work. Okay, so here we are. I let this dry. I kind of get the little bits off now. And then I'm really just filling it in with the Sharpie, the fine point pen, because I already have the design here. I use the carbon paper. It is really straightforward. These pens and this paper just really are amazing together. Now I do have to add some other details as well, and I'm going to do that actually now. I'm going to use a paint pen. Make sure I have one with some color in it. I'm going to use a paint pen rather than watercolor. Well, if I had one with some color in it, because it's just like instant gratification. It's so much easier. So much easier. And ideally, as you can see, the paper is still going to kind of pill up a little bit. That's normal. Get a new paint pen and see if I can get it started. I had to go grab my yellow pen, my yellow paint pen. I'm working on a Smeedy alcohol ink floral design, and this is far from finished. But that's why my pen was in use elsewhere. So I'm going to take this paint pen and just finish out my stars. So that they are white and yellow. Again, anybody can do this route and making polka dots. Let's see, I'm going to try another pen so I can. There we go. Goodness gracious, that's a big difference. Let's see what's going on with that pen. I don't think it was a very good one. I'm following my lines, and these are hand drawn, so no two are ever exact. Not necessarily try to make them exact. Keep them really close, because that's what my Etsy buyers expect. Well, not just my Etsy buyers. I have my own site now too. So all of my buyers, people who buy my art. I think that's where the clog came from, because that paper was already raised. Just clogged up that pen. There we go. See, it's coming together beautifully. Okay, so I just put the song lyrics in there, kind of shorten the amount of time you watch me draw. I just have a standard handwriting that I use most of the time. So that's what I did with that. Stop filling this in for a second. The white back in here. So for some reason I forgot that this section was white as well. white ribbon. Fine tip acrylic paint pen. Kind of an off-brand. I buy the white and black ones in bulk. So then, back to the design again. There we are. Just looking at my example and making wavy hair here. Looks about right. This can come down. Go. Into the foot. Dragging any colors around. Sometimes if I see the carbon showing through a little bit, I'll go back and make my line a little thicker there, so it looks really finished. Okay, almost done here. That's good. I know those lines need to go on here. Pen wasn't cutting it. That's good. Let's see. I like it. I like it. So what I am gonna do now, it's not dark enough. I mean, it's pretty dark. So what I'm gonna do real quick is just take a much smaller brush. Because now I've already finished it. So not the time to be adding anything, but it's okay. Take a much smaller brush and just do a little black in the corners and kind of blend it in, because it's not dark enough to me to match the original design. I need a little more water than that. Gray. Make sure it blends. Makes it obvious. And I'll go up and hit these top corners. I guess I'll use the big brush after all. There we go. I really won't see that much of it once I put the black matte around it. Black matte will make it 11 by 14 completed size. This paper is not standard size. It's about 7.5 by 10. Kind of. I think it's beautiful, but some people, you know, when they want to frame it, they want it to fit in a standard frame, so the mats work well for that. All right, I need to stop here before I end up going into a whole nother watercolor painting. I'm going to let this dry, make sure it's blended well. It should be fine. And put it in its mat and get it on its way.